Missy, last week, rewatching The Breakfast Club brought back so many memories from high school, even for me.
Yeah, I know. And the music is so nostalgic. Like it took me right back to that time because I was a teenager at that time. But this week we get to go back to 1985 again.
Woohoo! Let's get going as we face off these two great Brat Pack films. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy. And this is Real Sisters Rewind.
Join us as we go back to the 80s.
Welcome to Real Sisters Rewind, back to the 80s, a podcast for people who love movies and wish they were as good now as they were back then. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. We are sisters who love great movies and think some of the very best are from the 80s. Together, we are revisiting and reminiscing on some of our favorites and seeing if they measure up today to what we remember from then. I'm Missy.
And I'm Amanda. If you're enjoying this podcast, pretty please give Real Sisters Rewind a 5-star rating on your podcast app and subscribe and review to help new people find our show. We're sending out Real Sisters stickers for 5-star reviews. So if you're leaving us a nice little review, take a screenshot and email us at hello@realsistersrewind.com so that we can make sure to get you one of our cool new stickers.
They are cool.
Today, we're diving into another Brat Pack film, which you already know. Unlike The Breakfast Club from last week, which focused on high school students, this movie captures the struggles and triumphs of post-college life, St. Elmo's Fire. Just saying the title, I can hear that music.
Dun, 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 dun. Right? I know.
Oh, love it. The film is set in Washington, D.C. and follows a close-knit group of friends as they navigate early adulthood. Before we get into the story, let's share some fascinating facts about this legendary movie and some more of the things that were happening in the year of 1985.
Yeah, and you say some more of the things from 1985 because we were just here last week talking about the Breakfast Club rewind. And I would say that 85 was quite a year, right? We mentioned last week about the first version of Windows was released by Microsoft, but there was another release that happened and it didn't find quite the same success as Microsoft Windows. The Coca-Cola Company, Amanda, introduced New Coke. And the launch of New Coke was met with widespread, literally like public outrage and backlash. Like loyal Coke drinkers were upset about the change and they didn't want the formula of their beloved beverage altered in any way. And it only took 79 days. Like the people had spoken and Coca-Cola brought back original Coke, but they called it Coca-Cola Classic. Yes. And this is actually considered quite the marketing blunder.
And I wonder, okay, yes, let's just stamp the fact. Why would you do this? Coke was like, don't fix it if it's not broken. And Coke was not broken. But
No.
I do wonder if it had anything to do with the popularity of Pepsi, because Pepsi was really popular. Michael Jackson did the Pepsi commercial, right?
And the spark landed on his hair. It's not funny, but it did. They had the Pepsi challenge. Remember, you would take the Pepsi challenge and they would like have it behind like this, like the testing cubicle type look, and you would pick A or B and be like, Pepsi.
Yes, the Cola Wars. That it's in that song, Rock and Roller Cola Wars. Yes, it's it was the Cola Wars.
Ah, okay.
because it was like all of they did that all I remember, don't you remember like so many commercials at that time would be like the taste
The
test
taste test. Yeah,
commercials.
that's what I'm saying. And I
Mhm.
have to say, I will forever be a Coca-Cola girl. Well, a Diet Coke girl, but no Pepsi for me.
Nope, nope. I will do you one better. I will forever be a Coca-Cola classic girl. No Coke Zero, no Diet Coke. Cherry Coke's fine, but all I need is the Coke classic. If I'm gonna have a Coke, it's gonna be the real deal.
Hmm. Okay, so there was one more significant release. The Nintendo Entertainment Center made its debut in North America.
Yep. And I was so excited when I finally got mine.
And I've never been a video game girl, Amanda, but was Nintendo like the Pac-Man or was it Pong? Like, what was Nintendo? What was the
No.
duck game? Like, where
Well,
you
first
shot
of
ducks
all,
or something?
you're definitely not a video game girl. Like your whole generation, I would say my age group would be the first people that really, I feel like, got sucked into the video game era because I mean, Pong and all that was fine, but it wasn't like gonna take your life. You weren't gonna sit and do it for hours and hours and hours. Nintendo was Duck Hunt. The very first game you would get with it was Duck Hunt with the little gun, but the biggie Super Mario Brothers.
Oh yeah, Mario Brothers. Yeah, Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
I definitely I don't get video games. I don't understand it. I mean, I've played them just to be cool. We used to have a place in uh, Hattiesburg growing up, prime time, and it was filled with video games, and that would be the hangout. But
Mm.
right, I would go, but I wouldn't play video games. Just like when the skating rink was the big place to go, I went. I wanted to be a part of the crowd, but I didn't really skate either.
Were could you not skate?
Not very well.
Oh Lord.
I
Well,
know, I know.
wait, I just have to correct you. When you went to prime time and when you went to wherever, you were not playing video games, my friend. You were playing arcade games, like the big tall
Yeah,
arcade. Yeah. So I just feel like it's like when I think
that's
of video, I think
different.
of like
Okay.
sitting in front of your screen with the handheld. Back in the day, it was, at Pizza Hut or wherever. It was the big tall like arcade game.
Yeah. Well, so, but Pac-Man then was an arcade game, not an entertainment center game.
Yeah, it was like Pac-Man
But I
and
remember people playing it at their house.
yeah,
Doop, doop,
mm,
doop, 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 doop.
that was Atari though.
Oh,
That wasn't Nintendo, but it was
okay.
like yeah, there were a lot of those arcade games.
Okay.
All right, so St. Elmo's Fire was released in theaters on June 28th, 1985. And the week that it came out, Bryan Adams had his number one hit song with Heaven.
That was a
Bruce
great
Springs.
song, by the way. Great song.
How did it? I don't know that one.
We're in heaven.
Oh, yes, I do
Yeah.
know it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, okay, got it. 100%. I'm there. Bruce Springsteen was on People magazine. I wonder if Courtney Cox was in the background.
No, he had just gotten married to someone, and it was like, who's the boss now? Because he had just got married. I actually saw the cover. But this is what I thought was fun. The TV Guide that week came out with the worst and the best of TV. And the best was The Cosby Show, right? I mean, everybody knows The Cosby Show. It was so great then, wasn't it?
It was absolutely, it was for sure, looking back on it, my favorite show growing up. And to this day, I actually on Reels, there's like a 80s TV thing that I follow, and they always show clips of the Cosby Show. And if one pops up the Cosby Show, I always watch it. And I know there's like a lot of controversy about Bill Cosby and all his doings, but we didn't know
Focusing on the show.
that right.
Right?
And that wasn't we didn't know anything about any of that nonsense back then, but it was such a good show. It still is. The show itself stands
Yes.
alone as a fantastic show. And I feel like I got some good parenting tips because I
Yeah.
love the way Cliff and Claire parented. Like they
Yes.
were awesome.
And little Rudy was the cutest. I just adored her. Okay, the two other best shows at the time, Miami Vice, which, by the way, I didn't watch, I didn't care for. As a matter of fact, when I was in junior miss my senior year, they were throwing all these names at me in my interview, and they were like political people, and I knew them all, right? I was able to answer them. And then they said, "And who is Don Johnson?" And I remember I was like, I have no idea. And I found out later that the judges were impressed that I wasn't a big like Miami Vice fan, but even today, those scenes from Miami Vice kind of cheese me out.
They Crockett and Tubbs. That's
You probably watched it because you
no,
were probably at home then watching Crockett and Tubbs.
so I did not watch it. I did not like it, but our mom watched it. Mama
Oh,
watched it.
mom loved
Mhm.
Miami Vice. And
I
then
don't
the
know if she
other,
loved it, but she
but she
watched it.
watched it. The other one that was on the best list was Moonlighting with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd. And I did love that. I think it came on Tuesday nights, and I loved that. They had great chemistry. Okay, the worst were Dukes of Hazzard. Never cared. It was on CBS. I never saw it, never cared for it. I don't want to hear all that racing and that loud noise from those mud tires. The Yellow Rose, which I never heard of. And I do remember this one, although I never watched it. It was Manimal, and it was like a fantasy series about a man who could transform into animals. And so that was on the worst list. But I just thought that was some fun facts about that time.
Manimal was a mistake, clearly.
Manimal was a big mistake.
Yikes. Well, all right. So St. Elmo's Fire was directed by Joel Schumacher and co-written by Schumacher and Carl Kurlander. It beautifully captures the essence of the mid 80s with
Yep.
a mix of drama, a little romance, friendship, lots of friendship, and the complexities of having those friendships.
Yes. And I'll tell you what, that Joel Schumacher, he could just about anything. All right. So you've got this movie, St. Elmo's Fire. He did Batman Forever. He did A Time to Kill, and he did Phantom of the Opera. Like the man must can do anything.
Lost Boys, the Lost Boys.
Oh,
From the
yeah.
80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
With Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
I agree. A jack of all trades.
Yes.
And so, like many other
Wait, and you said a jack of all trades, and there's that saying, jack of all trades, master of none. But he pretty much was mastering filmmaking.
Yeah, he's
right?
great. Yeah, he's great. And like so many other movies from the 80s, the music
I'm telling you.
also plays such a significant role in this film.
The music of my high school time was just legendary. I mean, come on.
It was. As to this day, I'm like, the movies and music of the 80s, you can't beat it.
Can't.
Fashion, not the best, but music and movies, absolutely. But so the song St. Elmo's Fire, Man in Motion by John Parr became again, we said it last week, Lord, sort of like an anthem of a generation embodying the spirit of perseverance and hope. This soundtrack is filled with 80s hits, and it really adds to the nostalgic charm of this movie.
Yeah. The film was up for one award. It was up for a Grammy Award. It was up for Best Album, but it didn't win. But Amanda, I didn't realize until I was researching for this podcast that David Foster not only composed a lot of the songs on the album, but he also performed them.
What do you mean? All of them?
Not all of them, but like all of the piano pieces, David Foster's behind that. Do you know who David Foster is?
I don't think so.
He has I'm a huge American Idol fan, and I got to know him through his time on Idol. He would be
Missy,
the guy. Yes.
Can you get him on for an interview like Donnie Markowitz? I mean, you know him.
Yeah, I'll work on that. But let me finish telling you about David Foster. He's behind like a lot of the music of Whitney Houston, etc. Okay, this might trigger in your mind who he is. He is actually married to Catherine McPhee from American Idol.
He's a good bit older than her, right?
I'm trying
to put it together, right?
Older than her. Yes, he's a lot older than her. They have a babykins, like I think he's like 2 or 3. And FYI, He is already an incredible musician, this kid. There is a viral video of him playing the drums like a boss, like crazy. Like, if you've not seen that, Amanda, when we get off, you've got to run, go get it. If we can find it, maybe we can share it on social
We'll put it on our Instagram page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of this kid playing the drums, taken after his father, David Foster.
Did they meet on American Idol?
I think they did.
Yeah. Well, okay, back to the film. Sorry again, we get sidetracked with our memories, which said it before. That's what this is all about. The film was rated R, which Breakfast Club was PG-13, right? I think so.
I don't remember right at this moment.
But yeah, I think we'll get to it, but that makes sense. And this was rated R, has a runtime of about 1 hour and 50 minutes. And it was made on a budget of about 10 million and went on to gross over 37 million in the United States. So let's put a pin in that when we look at these two movies side by side in a little bit.
Okay,
look at the
that sounds good. I wanted to say the other award that I found that they were nominated for, they did win. They didn't win the other one, right? They didn't win the best album, but they did win this award, which was a Razzie, not the award you want to win, but Rob Lowe won this for Worst Supporting Actor. He won.
Boo. I loved him in this, and he's so dang beautiful.
He is beautiful, for sure.
Oh, I really loved him in this. I don't think he's deserving of that. They're just giving him a hard time because people are jealous.
Well, he is a member of the Brat Pack, the Brat.
Yes, he definitely is. All right, so how about a few final fascinating facts before we rewind and review? The character of Kirby is played by Emilio Estevez, and he is actually based on a real person that co-writer Carl Kurlander knew during his time at Georgetown University, which is pretty cool.
So Georgetown is such a big part of this movie that I was like, are there famous people who went to Georgetown? And I found some. Bill Clinton, 42nd president of the United States. Maria Shriver, we see her on the Today Show all the time, and she was married to Arnold Schwarzenegger. She's an author, right? She's a journalist. She's amazing. Julia Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld, and another beautiful person graduated from there, Bradley Cooper. I love him.
Me too. I did a little research too.
A little research yourself?
Yeah, but mine was different because it made me think, as I was thinking about these actors in the movie, if any of these people in the film actually had attended college themselves, or finished college, where they went, what their degree was. But it looks like none of them actually finished. They just went all in with their acting. We have Emilio Estevez. He just went straight into the entertainment industry. Rob Lowe, same thing. He didn't attend college, but Andrew McCarthy, and if you watch the Bratz documentary, you picked up on this already. He did go to NYU and New York University, and he was there for a brief period. And he was studying acting, but he didn't graduate.
He talks about he was kind of a in his own kind of admission, like he was kind of a loser student that did nothing but smoke pot all day.
Yep. Again, here's Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Not Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Demi Moore also did not attend college. And she actually started acting in her teens. So she was already in the industry really young. Interestingly enough, Judd Nelson did attend Haverford College, but ended up transferring and graduating from St. Paul's School in Concord, New Hampshire. But he did not complete his college degree. He pursued acting.
Okay.
And then Ali Sheedy attended University of Southern California and also left early. Mayor Whittingham, same thing, left early to pursue acting. And then Andy McDowell did not attend college at all. She was actually a model.
I was going to say, she started out modeling, didn't she?
Yeah, and I would imagine she got it being a model, got into that very young, and she transitioned from model
Yeah,
to
she's so
actress.
tall and thin and beautiful and regal. And I thought
Yeah,
she was fantastic.
she's so unique with her voice and a little bit of accent. I think she's a really unique actress.
Yeah. Okay, I've got another fascinating fact for you about our beautiful boy, Rob Lowe. Um, for his character, Billy Hicks, right? Billy Hicks famously plays the saxophone in the film. And Rob Lowe had to learn how to play the instrument specifically for that role. So he didn't know how to play it before. And so I wanted to know, because I guess in my mind, I want to imagine that he's like sitting out on his deck playing a saxophone, like if he continued to play it, right? But he didn't. He said he loved the challenge and the fun of learning the instrument for the role, but he didn't pursue it as a hobby. So I won't be able to sit out on his back porch next time I'm over visiting and have him play the saxophone for me.
Well, next time you're there visiting, will you please see if he can do an interview with us?
Yes, I will.
So this would be your second one for this episode.
To my list. Yes,
that'd be great.
Yes.
But I do have to say, look at the hard work that Rob Lowe put into this role. He learned how to play the saxophone. He should not have won that Razzie.
Worst supporting actor. I agree with you. He did not deserve that.
Well, I'm gonna, just like our Steven Spielberg petition that we're creating for ET, I'm going to start a petition to get that Razzie removed from his
revoked.
Revoked from his resume.
Love it.
All right, last one. For me, when I think about the Brat Pack, they always look like they were like partying and having such a good time, which from their documentary, apparently that's not the case, but it's what it seems like.
Definitely that's what was captured and in Tiger Beat and 17 magazine and all of that. Yes, I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but even if it wasn't something they were all doing together, substance abuse was very real for them.
Yeah.
We know Rob Lowe struggled with it.
That came out when his sex tape came out, that sex tape scandal. Yep.
I totally forgot about that.
Yep. That's when he went into rehab, was when that all launched and we found out he had addiction issues.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Well, he struggled with it, and so did Demi Moore. And in fact, her struggles with drug and alcohol addiction were well documented before she was even cast in St. Elmo's Fire. And she was really known for her hard partying lifestyle during the early 1980s.
Yes. And because of the role she plays in this movie, Jules, right? Joel Schumacher insisted that she get clean before she started working on this movie. And so Demi Moore, and at the time she was Demi, right now she's Demi, but Demi Moore, she entered rehab to address all of these issues. And she still to this day credits that period of her life with helping her turn her substance abuse issues around and focus on her career. And she seems to have a real appreciation for that. But don't you know, Amanda, based on the movie, which we'll get into in just a second, Jules is drinking it up and having all these issues. Can't you imagine that was tough on her to film that? Because she had just battled those demons.
I would imagine, I'm sure she drew on that, but I mean, she was snorting coke, drinking the whole 9 yards. And I wanted to say too, what you were saying about how he made sure she had a sober companion during the filming of the movie to support her. But I read her talking about this experience and how he was so supportive and was just really stuck his neck out for her. And she was like, I mean, I really wasn't, it's not like I was a somebody at that point, and he had no reason to stick his neck out for me other than he really saw something in me and wanted me as this role in the film. And so I think that goes back to her deep appreciation for all he did for her.
Well, I actually I read this somewhere in preparing for this episode that he was somewhere and she had actually read a script for another line and he saw her leaving and sent an assistant out to grab her because she was exactly what he had in his mind for Jules.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, yeah.
Just stunning. We'll talk about it. All right, let's step into the world of St. Elmo's Fire. Doo doo.
Okay, Amanda, before we jump in, I have to say this was so much fun. We watched this one together. We popped our popcorn at mom's and we got on our cozy PJs and we rewound the movie and reviewed it together, and it was special to me to do that with you because that's the first time we've been together to actually watch one of these movies. We've done it over Zoom since we started the podcast.
It was very fun, sister. I'm so glad we got to do it. Hopefully, we'll have many more that we can do together.
I will intentionally do that. But we did our popcorn, and I had my popcorn with a little Reese's Pieces sprinkled in it because it was left over from our ET filming. Remind me what you had in your popcorn?
I did my traditional popcorn with M&Ms. You can't go wrong, y'all. Popcorn with M&Ms.
I do love popcorn with M&Ms, and I did have a few Raisinets in my popcorn as well.
Yes.
We shared
We had
those. Thank
we
you for
did.
sharing. Thank you for sharing the Raisinets with me. Okay, so our story kicks off with 7 friends who just graduated from Georgetown University, each struggling as they enter adult life. We've got Alec, played by Judd Nelson, who I have to say, Amanda, at the beginning of the film, they're all walking out in their graduation robes. Rob Lowe's got his cigarette, and Judd Nelson is smoking a joint. So it makes you wonder, like, is he going to be like Bender from The Breakfast Club? But he's not. He's actually an ambitious political worker. And he is in a serious relationship with Leslie, played by Ali Sheedy. She's preppy in this movie, no dandruff art here. But she's dealing with her career and definitely commitment issues, right? Kevin is a moody writer played by Andrew McCarthy. And I imagine that that's what Andrew McCarthy's real personality is like. Do you?
Same. Yes.
I do. I imagine that's what he's like because we even saw glimpses of that in the Bratz documentary. But anyway, he is secretly in love with Leslie. And then there's Kirby, played by Emilio Estevez. He's a law student turned waiter who's obsessed with a medical student named Dale, played by Andy McDowell.
And
She's
Missy,
beautiful.
she's beautiful. I thought he was really great as Kirby, and his character seemed so realistic to me. Like, I don't know, something about his character and I don't know, it just seemed like very real to me. I really liked him in this.
Yeah, me too.
All right, and so then there is Billy, played by the beautiful Rob Lowe. Who was playing a former frat boy and saxophone player who can't seem to let go of his wild ways. And even though he's married with a kid randomly, um,
It's
it's
like he's stuck. He's stuck at the frat house.
yeah, but married with a kid, which is
Right.
also like a sidebar. It's just kind of funny, strange. I don't know. We'll talk a little bit more about it. But
Yeah.
then there's Jules, who's played by Demi Moore, and she is a party girl with a glamorous job, but her personal life is falling apart. Okay, aside from the personal life falling apart, Jules with the glamorous job, she's totally like a brunette Barbie to me in
Yes,
this
I
movie.
she's
Oh,
fabulous in the
she
movie.
is
Yeah.
fabulous. Finally, there's Wendy, played by Mare Whittingham, and she's a sweet, naive social worker who is hopelessly in love with Billy, which there's that theme again.
There's that theme. And I will also say she's from a very rich family, right?
Hmm.
But she's a social worker. So she's got this
Yes,
heart to help people. Okay. So at
definitely.
the start of the movie, we see the entire friend group at the hospital because Billy and his out of control, crazy behavior led him to getting drunk and wrecking Wendy's car after a wild night out.
And I think this is the car that her dad got her after graduation.
Yeah.
Because I went back to read, and that was the deal.
Oh, okay. And this is an early hint that he is really struggling with responsibility and self destruction. But luckily, they're okay, except for Billy getting arrested. And
Yeah.
after Wendy bails him out, they head straight to their hangout spot with the whole crew, St. Elmo's Bar. I mean, like Wendy goes with her patch on her head from a wreck and all. And Billy, he's got his sax too. We're just going to take it with us in the hospital and take it on to the bar with all our friends. I'm going to go with my patch.
Yeah. And by the way, Wendy, I get it. Like, you are hopelessly in love with beautiful Rob Lowe. We all are. But he does have a wife and kid. Why are you out? I'm so confused. Like it's taken that storyline of like the bad boy, the girl. It's taken it a little too far, because I'm like, I don't know. He's married with a kid.
But
You
he
know, are
is
you?
beautiful, Billy. He is.
She's enabling him a little bit.
She is. She is.
But they go to the bar to hang out, and this bar actually was inspired by the Tombs bar. That was a Georgetown, like an actual Georgetown hangout. Um, did y'all have a hangout that your friends went to? I know for them, this was college, or it was post college. So I guess like college time for you.
We did. We did. You probably heard me talk about the end zone or Judges. Judges was a bar that the place where you sat, it was, I mean, they were clean. They weren't used as a toilet, but they had toilet seats around the bar. But in 1987, which was around where this movie came out and was filmed, we had Toast and Jam, which was like a kiddie bar. So it was like you could go to the dance scene, but there was no alcohol. It was in downtown Hattiesburg. We thought we were big whoop going to Toast and Jam, and we got our dance on. And I remember Wham being like the big, I know that was something we talked about with the Breakfast Club, but Wham was like the big band at Toast and Jam. And we would party
You
like
would
only high
jam.
schoolers can. Yeah.
You would toast and then jam. Do you
Yes,
see the look on my face? Like
I do. You're horrified.
the horror on my face. We
Well,
would
we
not,
thought it was really cool at the time, but I do now see it's kind of cheesy.
we would not have been caught dead. And we did our hangout. So what's funny, I did want to just say is, in college, the end zone was still jumping.
I mean, the end zone's been there for decades. I think it's still going, sister.
It is, yeah. Like the end zone is just a thing. Judges was gone. But the funny thing is I remember as a child when you were in high school, not high school, in college, hearing y'all talk about Judges a lot.
Oh, yeah. It was fun. It was fun. Okay. So back to the movie. Alec is really feeling the pressure to grow up. Alex, played by Judd Nelson. So he takes a job working for a Republican because apparently it pays more than working for a Democrat. And he really starts pushing Leslie for more of a commitment, which she is not at all interested in.
No, she's just fine where they are. And by the way, she's repulsed by the fact that he's now, or at least working for a Republican. It's so funny,
It is
that whole
funny,
dynamic.
but it kind of came together for me. And it's my favorite scene in the movie, I think, when they're all in Demi Moore's Jeep and it's a beautiful day and they're just riding down the road. I love that so much. But during that scene, she says something about him being a Republican now, and everyone is shocked because apparently Alec was president of the Young Democrats Club 3 times in a row. So everybody is just like hazing him because now he's working for a Republican.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And I love that scene too. Not only is it so beautiful with them driving down the streets, the tree-lined streets, but it brought back so many memories of being in the car with all your friends and listening to
Yes.
music and talking and laughing and just sort of carefree because so many memories at that time, I feel like were in a car with all your
Yes,
friends.
absolutely. And carefree is the exact word I would think of in that scene. Way too many people in the car.
For
That
sure.
happened to me many times. I think you even told daddy one time on me that I had too many people in the car.
That weren't
Um,
wearing seatbelts.
Probably, yes. That wasn't a thing at the time. Kids, wear your seatbelts. But that scene, it takes me back like none other in any either of these two movies, these Brat Pack movies we're comparing.
I think so too. And it's almost, I know this sounds so dramatic, but it's almost like a little pang of like, I don't know, like it hurt, like, because you just, I don't know,
Yes, it's that
you're not,
nostalgic feeling. It gives you like a lump in your stomach or in your
mhm,
throat. Yeah,
like you're not, you can't ever go back to that. You can't get it back, but you
right.
can feel it so viscerally.
Yes.
Um, all right. So meanwhile, while this is all going on with Alec and Leslie, Kirby becomes obsessed with Dale, the doctor,
Yes.
who he saw. We get their interaction. Their first interaction is when they're in the ER in that first scene. He runs into her.
When
And
Billy has
so
wrecked the car.
exactly. But he's going to great lengths to impress her, like sets up this fancy lunch and just like all these things. And he even follows her, shows up to a party that she's attending. He goes through on his bike through the rain, and he shows up at the party declaring his love for Dale.
I love
Wow.
the way they shot that scene because she's in the party and you see that and you can just hear him breathing and walking and kind of the squish. And then she
Yes.
turns around and she's like, Kirby. That's a great scene too.
Yes. Kirby, how are you? I know, I agree. Because you're like, oh my gosh, what is he about to do?
All right. So he declares his love to her.
Yes. And Wendy, on the other hand, continues to be secretly, I mean, but not so secretly, come on, in
Yeah.
love with Billy, despite his flaws, hoping he will eventually change. Guess what, sister? He's not.
He's not going to change it. FYI, that rich family she has doesn't care for him.
Agreed. And that just goes back to like, I was so confused. He was married with a kid. It
Yeah.
just takes that whole, like, being with the bad guy to a whole new level. Also, I also wanted to say that the friends were always worried about Kevin and his no girlfriend. And
Mm-hmm.
Jules actually suggests that, she like has a talk with him and she's like, I think you're gay and tries to set him up with her neighbor decorator Ron. But at this time, Missy, did you, because when we rewatched it, you didn't remember a lot. Did
I
you know
didn't.
you didn't remember he's in love with Leslie?
Right. I
So
did
like if
not
you,
remember that.
so if you, watching it for the first time, you may be thinking that, well, maybe,
Maybe he is
maybe
gay.
maybe he's
Because
gay.
I could tell you in a movie today, there would definitely be a gay character.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but speaking of that and him, her having a decorator, I would say that Jules is what we would now call bougie, right? Like her decorator has redone her apartment, Ron. It's got a huge mural of Billy Idol on the big wall, and her entire apartment walls that we see in those first scenes are Pepto Bismol pink. It's very bougie.
Bougie, and like I said, almost like a brunette Barbie. Like
Yeah.
you are just like, she is everything.
Yeah. And let me say one other thing. Billy Idol was so relevant at the time. I don't know if you remember, but I had a boyfriend in high school who was obsessed with Billy Idol to the point where he loved to like sing Billy Idol songs my way and like do his lip kind of up like Billy Idol. He'd say, with a rebel yell, he cried more, more, more. I mean, this boyfriend loved Billy Idol. And so I do remember Billy Idol being on her wall and thinking how cool that was because he was the
Sh-
bomb at the time.
Mhm. She had belly out. That's right. He was kind of bad too.
Yeah, he was.
So this is where we start seeing some hints that her character might be having some financial issues. We see that because at work, she's asking for when they're handing out the checks. She's
Yep.
like, "Oh, can I get an advance?" I'm like, "Sorry, you're already advanced,
No check for
and
you.
no check for you." And I was like, "I didn't know you get an advance on your paycheck. Nice."
That was the
Um,
80s.
yeah, back in the 80s. And then Kevin's like, "How much do you pay for all this?" And she says, "Why do you think God invented credit?" So we're starting to get some hints that like something's a little sus here.
Yeah, yeah, and her friends are really suspecting that something's up and something's not right with her. They even do an intervention, right? But she's dead set on keeping up appearances. She wants to be seen as successful and independent, and she's just telling everyone that everything's great. She even is bragging on the fact that she's having an affair with her boss.
Yep, not a good look. But things get really crazy in each of the storylines here. So Kirby is working for this really rich, financial tycoon or something. And he hosts a party. When the guy goes out of town, he hosts a party at his new boss's house, inviting his doctor, Dale, to impress her. But she never shows up to the party. And
Yes.
so, like, they're having a great time, but there's no Dr. Dale. So, oh my gosh, I love this. She doesn't show up. He loses his mind. So he
He
starts
loses his mind.
loses his mind. Like, this is it. He starts calling her, but okay, I got to put a pause here. So, all of you that are listening to this podcast right now that were born, I would say probably in the late 90s or later. We're about to tell you a tale of the olden days when we had the landlines, and you would, if you called someone and they were on the phone with someone else, the line would be quote unquote busy, and it would be like beep beep beep, and so you'd be like, oh, they're on the
Yes.
phone, unless
So
they had call
annoying.
waiting. We're not going to get into all that, that's too
Right.
complicated for you all. But you could, if, and I didn't learn this until I was a little bit older, but you could, if it was really serious to get through, you could call the operator and tell them to do an emergency breakthrough on a particular phone line if it was busy. And y'all, I used to do this to my friend all the time, Patricia Pendergrass. I'm shouting her out, and she knows it's true. They didn't have call waiting, and when we were in high school, and I would emergency break through at her
No
house
way.
yes, I did all the time, and she would get so like she would be like, "You have to stop doing that."
That
But
is
I mean,
hysterical, but I think mom probably got charged for that. I think
yes, yeah,
emergency
yeah,
breakthroughs got charged.
you get a little charge, but it was
Oh
worth
my
it. Like,
gosh.
we had to make plans. We had to talk. There were no cell phones. We had to find out what time we were going out, what the plans were. We needed the scoop. So I had to do an
So
emergency
you did
breakthrough.
emergency breakthroughs. I don't think I ever did an emergency breakthrough,
Oh,
ever.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, I did. So anyway, that's what he did. He did an emergency breakthrough because her line was busy. And it just tickled me so much because it made me think of our emergency breakthroughs. But whoever was on the phone never did answer his emergency
They didn't
breakthrough.
accept it like
They
Patricia
didn't
did.
accept it. Yeah, and so he got so mad. So, he is like, "Fine." And so he finds out where I think he goes to the apartment, and
He
the
goes
roommate's
to
like,
the
"She's gone
apartment. She's like,
skiing."
"Are you the one that's been trying to do the emergency breakthroughs?"
So he actually takes, a friend's car. I think it's, Wendy's car, and she's got another car now, and so he takes Wendy's car. She didn't learn her lesson, and goes up to where, Dale is skiing with her boyfriend. So, like, even just right now, I get hot thinking about, like, the humiliation of that experience. I'm just like, "Oh,
Yeah, but he
oh."
gets snowed in and has to end up spending the night with them at the ski lodge or whatever. Yes, awkward is a great word for that, sister. Okay, so you were right. Things are melting down. It's getting crazy. And at the same time this is happening, we see the failing relationship between Alec and Leslie at that same party where he gets so mad, right? Alec makes the announcement in front of everyone that on June 2nd, he and Leslie will be getting married. And by the way, FYI, don't do that, guys. Don't
So
announce in
tacky.
front of people that you're getting married on a certain date when the woman hasn't said yes to you. She is upset. She pulls him into the kitchen and lets him know that she won't marry him because of his, as she calls it, extracurricular love life. Well, he immediately assumes that Kevin told her that he'd been fooling around because he had definitely an extracurricular love life and he loved to tell Kevin about it. So he runs out, he starts a fight with Kevin, and after he knocks him out, she, meaning Leslie, looks at Alec and says, "It was just a hunch until now." Right? So he kicks her,
Busted.
busted. He kicks her out of the apartment, which leads to her to seek comfort in the arms of Kevin, who confesses his love for her by saying, "You're all I think about."
He is desperately in love with her, and it makes me love him. It's so endearing to me.
Oh
But
my
can
gosh, it's
can
precious.
I just ask a quick question? I was so confused. What? He's kicking her out of the apartment. I'm like, why are you kicking her out?
Yep.
You're the one. It was unbelievable.
Right. She should have turned around and said, "I'm not the one leaving. You're the one leaving." But anyway, after Kevin confesses his love and it stole our hearts, Amanda, it also stole Leslie's heart in the moment. And then comes the love scene.
I love it. I was team Kevin for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Um, And we see Rob Lowe's character making a move on Demi Moore's character and barely taking
Jules.
no, yeah, on Jules when they're in the Jeep. She drives him home.
Right.
And he's totally like making the moves on her. He won't take no for an answer. And he even is like puts her keys down his pants and was like, come get him.
Come
And
get them.
yeah, he was acting like a total jerk, and I really, at this point, was like waiting for some redeeming quality to him because I'm like,
Yeah.
what's the deal, buddy? What's
Yeah.
the deal with you? I mean, I knew he was struggling, but I was just like, that's like she's your friend. I don't know. It was just it
Yeah.
was
And at the end of that scene, his wife holding the baby comes to the door, like, "What are you doing now?"
here we go
Here
again.
we go
Again.
again.
The
Yeah,
wife
I
and the
know.
kid, like, oh my gosh.
I know. And the movie hits a high point when Jewel locks herself in the apartment, refusing to let anyone in because she's hit rock bottom.
Yeah, she's been fired and the bank has taken everything from her apartment and she's being evicted.
And the whole gang, even though they've had all this craziness going on, they come back together to break in and rescue her. They try a blowtorch.
It's from Billy's new job at the
Yeah.
gas station.
It's got this huge, I guess it's helium. It looks like a helium tank.
It looks
They have,
like helium.
they have somehow lifted up on the fire escape, right?
Hmm.
But ultimately, Billy gets in the front door of her apartment by busting through with a fire extinguisher.
Yep. And he finds her with the curtains blowing and she
Such a famous
shivers.
scene, right?
Yes, it's actually really, really
It is
beautiful.
beautiful.
And she's shivering and she talks about her father hating her and she's got the tears in her eyes and sort of just looking out into the open. And then Billy tells her that this isn't real. It's St. Elmo's fire, electric flashes of light that appear in the night sky out of nowhere.
Yep. And it's in that moment that we see him take his lighter from the cig he just lit and he picks up this random can of hairspray that's just sitting on her empty bedroom floor. And he tells her what she's feeling, like you just said, Amanda, isn't real. And then he ignites a flame in the room as he continues talking about St. Elmo's fire.
Yeah, it's very dramatic. But what does that even mean? He says, we're all going through this. He says, it's our time on the edge.
Yeah. I mean, and she says that she's tired and she never thought she'd be this tired at 22.
I'm like, girl, wait till you're 47 with four teenagers.
That's exactly
But don't you like here? I will give her credit. Like, I do think there is this something about these like major transitional times when you realize, like, oh, this is my life now. Like after you have a baby or like, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And
Like
it
she's probably
does
gone from fun-filled college days to this work,
every day.
right? This career, and she's spending the money faster than she's making it. And she's got herself into trouble, and she's obviously got daddy issues. And so
Yeah.
she's having a breakdown. Life's hard for her in that moment
At 22.
at 22.
Hold on, girl, because there's more to come. So then she said, I don't know who to be anymore. And
Yes.
he said, no one was buying this together woman of the 80s stuff anyway.
That's hysterical. And then she says, perhaps my favorite line in the movie, and it is because I thought she was so fabulous, is she said, I was afraid you'd find out I wasn't fabulous.
And then he says, yes. And he says, all this time I was scared you'd find out I was irresponsible. And that finally, like you get, I don't know, him obviously coming to her rescue and talking to her, but saying that, like, I don't know, a little funny and relating to her in that way. It was the redeemable moment that I felt like I needed for Billy's character.
Yeah. And then, of course, everyone is laughing and things are going to be okay. Right? Billy pulled out the spray bottle of paint, made the
No,
fire, hairspray, and whatever. It was an aerosol bottle. And everything's all right now because it's St. Elmo's fire.
It's not real.
It's
Them
not
taking all
real.
your furniture is not real.
It's
Don't
not
worry.
real. It's an illusion.
But I have to say, I do have to say, I know it is way overly dramatic, which, that's part of the fun of movies. But Demi Moore's performance is so raw and heartfelt. I think, first of all, she was stunningly beautiful. I've already said it twice, but it was like brunette Barbie. Um, she's possibly the most beautiful 80s young woman to me, like in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
I might agree
it's
with that. I'd have to actually think on it, but she's definitely up there. Yeah.
yeah, and that her physical beauty combined with her voice, that raspy voice she has, and her acting, it's just so genuine. And I really believed in that moment, she's struggling with her dad and her money and her self-confidence, and she just made that part of it really believable.
She really did. Now, Wendy isn't there. The whole
Yeah.
gang's there, but Wendy's not because she's finally talked her rich dad into letting her get her own apartment. So as soon as all this is over, Billy goes to Wendy to tell her about it, to give her all the scoop at her new apartment. He tells her he's decided he's not going to be a weekend dad. So I guess, what is he going to do, Amanda? Just be an absentee dad?
He's just not going to be a dad. I think
Right.
Wendy's like marrying somebody else or something.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, the wife is going to marry somebody
Yeah, I'm
else,
so
not
sorry.
Wendy.
Not Wendy,
Yeah,
the wife. You're right.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's like,
So anyway, she's marrying, since his wife is marrying someone else, he's just going to head on off to New York and find somebody to hire him to play the sax. But he does ask Wendy if she's still a virgin, which she blushes. And he says, have I abused our relationship so much? Or could I be so bold to ask you for a going away present? Like, what? We can't hear you laughing, but I can see you laughing.
can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
You couldn't hear me laughing. I don't know why I'm laughing so hard. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure. Maybe the redeeming scene that I spoke about over earlier is completely removed now. I don't know, but it's really cringe when he says that.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
she gives him a going away gift.
she does. She's like,
Yes,
I'm
she
here for it.
does.
She's like, I'm here for it. But if anything, and I just never understood the two of them because if anything, I saw him with Jules.
Oh, for sure. I was
like,
I was team Billy and Jules.
I was like, shouldn't they be together? And there was that one scene. Remember when he's playing on the stage and she like bends over the jukebox and he kisses
Yeah.
Jules.
Right. But I think that they kind of had that. I bet they were
Sort of
friends with
alike.
benefits. I bet they were
Yeah.
friends with benefits.
Yeah. Okay. Well, after they have their romantic interlude, they all meet up at the bus station to say goodbye to Billy. And I loved it when he said he'd stay in touch. This is his conversation with Wendy. And she said, "No, you won't." And
Because he won't.
he won't, totally not. And he takes off her little pink beanie and kisses her forehead. It's really sweet.
That's when he was redeemed in my eyes. Like there was something about a kiss on the head that like redeemed him to me. Like what the heck?
I was gonna say, so I'm right back in his pocket now. I'm like, all
Yep.
right, Billy, I'm for you. Okay. And he gets on the New York bound bus, and the rest of the crew, the music's playing, and the rest of the cute crew strolls. I guess the St. Elmo's bar is across the street from the bus station. It's
Yeah,
like
it was just a few steps down.
it's like they turn around and walk to the bar. But they walk up to the window and they see all of these kids in the bar, and they kind of are like, and they are like, I don't know. I think it's like they're too old for that now. They've grown out of it, and they instead decide to go to brunch the next day, which is our first sign that they are indeed beginning to grow up.
Yeah. And a couple of things about the ending. You think it's going to end much like The Breakfast Club with the narration because Allie Sheedy is narrating as the bus pulls off, right? She says something like, I can't remember who met who first or who fell in love with who first. All I can remember is that it was the seven of us always together, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. It does sound like it's um going into that, but it goes back into the dialogue about brunch. And we really don't ever know if Leslie ends up with Alec or Kevin or either of them at all.
Yep. But one more thing. The last words of the film are spoken at least one other time in the movie. I know it was at least one other time because as soon as I heard it, it took me back to my high school days. But they're not really words, it's a chant. I don't even know. Do you know what I'm going to say? Did this stand out to you at all? Their little chant?
Yeah, they did it. The guys did it in the bathroom,
right?
In the first scene, and then they did it again at the end.
And I didn't know maybe if I had missed it another time, but it's boogala boogala, ha ha ha. And it made me remember something from my high school days that if we all get together, we still laugh about. My whole high school crew used to say, yang, 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 burr.
Say it one more time.
Yang, 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 burr.
We didn't have anything like that. I love that. Okay, real fans, it's time to look at these two 1985 cultural hits side by side. Both films have left a lasting legacy, but you can only choose one favorite.
I know mine. I think.
I think I know mine. We are considering everything from storylines and character development to the iconic quotes and overall impact on pop culture. Now, I know, real fans, these are not an exact side-by-side mirror image of one another, but they have enough commonalities that we can look at some of these elements. One thing that I want to point out before we get into some of those elements I just spoke about, earlier I said put a pin in it when I was talking about the budget. Missy, you remember that?
I do, of course, yeah.
Okay, so I thought it was interesting that the Breakfast Club's budget was only $1 million, but St. Elmo's Fire was 10 million.
Right.
But it makes sense. Obviously, the Breakfast Club was just in the library.
Right. That's what we had said.
Yeah. But I don't know, you still got actors to pay for, things of that nature, but still. So a difference in the original budget. But what's even more interesting is the amount they made. So the Breakfast Club made 51 million, grossed 51 million. St. Elmo's Fire only grossed 37 million.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, not a huge deal, but it's just
No, but the
interesting.
profit margin was a lot. There was a bigger profit margin for Breakfast Club.
Correct. And I think that that's kind of just a tidbit to think about because they came out so close together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point.
All right. Let's think about some of the elements of these two films that we can compare and think about which one would we choose as our favorite.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to do tally marks for us. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm
Okay.
writing down Amanda and Missy, and then each
So
one
we're gonna
will
say
do.
them out loud now. Okay. Okay.
Well,
So it's not.
you can have an
Yeah.
ultimate winner, but yes, we will.
Okay. Okay. So the audience was for Breakfast Club was geared for more high school, young adult. St. Elmo's Fire was geared a little bit more. It was still high school and young adults. So I think it was a similarity there, but I do think St. Elmo's Fire had a little bit more of a mature storyline.
Yes. Um, so I would give my tally there to St. Elmo's Fire.
I would give my tally there, actually, I think, to St. Elmo's Fire.
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, talking about the cast, as you're comparing them, they had three characters that were the same on both, right? You had Emilio, you had Judd, you had Allie.
Oh, yeah.
But
So wait, let me ask you a question.
okay.
Should we be thinking about, do we like them better in Breakfast Club versus St. Elmo's Fire? Is that kind of what you're doing? Where
Well,
what movie we liked them better in?
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, to
Or maybe
me,
they did a better job of acting or whatever.
I don't know, it's tough. It's tough.
Okay. Sorry, I
But
interrupted you. Keep
I,
going.
I think if you're considering the cast, because they had three of the same actors, you've got to really look at the other people on the cast to like give a ranking for the cast. So with
Yeah.
Breakfast Club, you had Anthony Michael Hall and Raleigh
Oof.
Wingwood. Raleigh Ring. Well, sorry about that, Molly Ringwald, to butcher your name. And then with St. Elmo's Fire, we had Demi Moore, we had Andrew
Oh,
McCarthy, we had Rob Lowe, and Andy McDowell. So if you're voting for the cast, my vote, I went first last time. You tell me. I'm
well,
putting
I
down your tally mark.
cannot go against my obsession of Andrew McCarthy and beautiful Rob Lowe. So
Yeah, for me, it's St. Elmo's Fire too, and for sure for me, it's because of Rob Lowe and Demi Moore.
but I will give an honorable mention to Anthony Michael Hall. I
Oh,
can't.
for sure, he
Yeah.
was phenomenal. So I'll give a half of a
A
tally
tally.
mark from both of us. So that's
Okay.
one tally mark for Breakfast Club. Okay.
Okay. Characters. Which one played it better?
Okay.
So we've got Bender. These are both bad boys.
Bad
Bender
boys.
in
Okay.
Breakfast Club, or Billy, which was played by Rob Lowe. Let me back up. Bender was Judd Nelson in Breakfast Club, and Billy was Rob Lowe in St. Elmo's Fire.
Well, Rob Lowe was Billy in St. Elmo's Fire. Yes.
Is that what I said?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
you said it opposite. You said
Oh,
Billy was Rob Lowe. It's fun.
Right.
You're gonna be shocked. You're gonna be shocked, but I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote for Bender. I think.
I am too.
Okay.
I am too.
So we both are giving a tally to Breakfast Club.
Bender, like we said, Bender was the Benders of high school.
For sure. For sure. Okay. Who's next?
Claire to Jules. So Molly Ringwald as Claire the princess, or Jules or Demi Moore as Jules the pop princess. This one's kind of tough.
It is kind of tough.
I think I've got to go with Jules because Demi Moore, she was like a Barbie doll to me.
I mean, you love her. That's like the 10th time you've said Barbie doll. It should be a drinking game on this podcast. I would definitely give it to Jules. Give it to Demi Moore. So, all right, I've got our tally marks. Is there another one to compare?
I mean, just real quick, when she was sitting in her room with the curtains blowing, it was very dramatic.
Yes, it was.
Okay, Anthony Michael Hall which was Brian.
Yeah.
And he was like the nerd guy, perfect family life. In Breakfast Club, to Mayor Whittingham, who played Wendy in St. Elmo's Fire, also sort of the nerdy character with this perfect
hands
on
down
the outside.
for me. Hands down, it was
Anthony Michael Hall.
For sure. Okay. I put our tally marks down.
Great.
Okay. The storylines are similar yet different, because in Breakfast Club, we have strangers that come to know each other and kind of overcome the stereotypes they had about each other. And we watch them progress. And on St. Elmo's Fire, we see these best friends, but they're keeping secrets and having to kind of work through that. They think they knew everything about each one. And then they go to that next step of their relationship. So I'm going to give.
This is really hard for me because I love that storyline of like we didn't know each other and now we have an understanding outside of our own box.
Yeah.
But I love St. Elmo's Fire.
Well, you know what? I like what you just said, and I'm going to throw my vote to Breakfast Club.
I am too.
Okay, you got it. All right. What's next?
Okay, this is really hard too, actually. The two biggest, I think biggest hits from these movies from Breakfast Club, Don't You Forget About Me, and Man in Motion from St. Elmo's Fire. Oof.
I'm giving mine to Breakfast Club, sister.
Me too.
Okay. All right. Let's wrap it up with like quotes and moments.
Change that
film.
real quick.
Nope. Okay,
Change
take it off.
A Man in Motion. Yeah, that St.
Okay.
Elmo's Fire music will like puts a lump in my throat.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on now to quotes and moments. And of course, we've got the whole narration that that Anthony Michael Hall reads for Brian, and it is beautiful and fantastic, and it talks about the answer is that they're all of them. Sincerely, the Breakfast Club. And then we have the Leslie who shares that she can't remember who met who first or who fell in love, but all she can remember is them all being together. If we rate the quote, I'm giving mine to Breakfast Club.
Me too.
Okay. And then the moment for Breakfast Club, Amanda, it was the fist pump. And the moment in St. Elmo's Fire was the group walking arm in arm, beginning and the end.
I'm giving mine to St. Elmo's Fire for that.
Okay, you're giving yours to St. Elmo's Fire. I'm giving mine to Breakfast Club. There's something about that fist that Bender does. But who is your overall winner, even if you didn't look at tally marks?
St. Elmo's Fire.
Mine is too. Ding, 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 ding. We have a champion here, but we want to know what our real fans think.
We do, but did our tally marks show that?
So by my tally marks, the Breakfast Club,
yeah.
And by your tally marks, St. Elmo's Fire won.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we bet. I mean,
cheated. I don't know. There were great parts of both of those movies, and that's why people have loved them for decades.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps up our rewatch of two incredible films of the 80s. And before we go, it's time to give you some clues about our next movie. So get ready. We are fast forwarding our rewind to later in the 80s.
All right, clue number 1. This movie is set in a small Louisiana town.
Clue number 2. Like the Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire, who had a focus on the bonds and relationships of people, our next movie centers around the lives of 6 women who share a strong bond of friendship.
All right, third clue. This film features a memorable hair salon where much of the drama unfolds. Any guesses, real fans? We'll reveal all in our next episode. And until then, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy. Thanks for listening to Real Sisters Rewind, back to the 80s.
And don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review.